Imagine this: a vault that's been locked for 30 years, full of secrets so explosive that they could bring down careers. Sammy Davis Jr.'s hidden treasure trove did just that. And what was inside shocked the world. Sammy Davis Jr., the man who wasn't just a star, but the star. He sang, he danced, and he broke barriers no one dared touch. But behind that dazzling persona, Sammy kept a vault, one filled with secrets that no one could have imagined. After 30 years of silence, they finally opened it. And what they found was more than just memorabilia, it was a treasure trove of truth. Sammy Davis Jr. was hiding everything. Stick around as we dive into a world of scandal, mystery, and the untold story of the man who changed show business forever. Sammy Davis Jr. was born in Harlem on December 8, 1925. His parents, Sammy Davis Sr. and Ela Sanchez, were both vaudeville performers, so from the very moment he entered the world, Sammy was surrounded by the music, magic, and madness of showbiz. But there was something hidden beneath that surface, a part of his story that was kept quiet for years. His mother, Ela, was Cuban, and back in those days, being Cuban could have destroyed a performer's career. The America of the 1930s and 40s wasn't ready to embrace anyone who wasn't seen as all-American. It was a world that thrived on division, and Sammy's parents knew the risks of revealing their true identity. By the time Sammy was just a toddler, he had already taken his first steps onto the stage, performing with the Will Maston Trio, which was led by his father. Most kids at that age were playing with toys or having fun at school. Sammy was learning how to master his craft in theaters, already becoming a seasoned performer before he even understood what childhood was about. This life wasn't easy, and it certainly wasn't the picture of happiness that many associate with childhood. At just 3 years old, Sammy's parents split, and he was thrown deeper into the whirlwind of show business. Will Maston, who became like a father figure to Sammy, tried to shield him from the worst, but Sammy's talent and drive couldn't be hidden. From a very early age, Sammy became aware of the ugliness of racism in America, but instead of being defeated, it ignited something inside him. A fierce determination to prove himself, to break through the walls of discrimination, and make a name for himself that couldn't be ignored. He didn't have the same childhood experiences as most of us. He didn't sit in classrooms or play with friends after school. Instead, he toured the country, performing on stage, living the life of an entertainer, and facing the bitter sting of racism wherever he went. But what made Sammy different was that he never accepted that racism was the norm. From a young age, he understood that if he wanted to be someone, he had to fight, not just with talent, but with resilience. He had to be better, work harder, and make himself undeniable. At age 7, Sammy got his first big break in Hollywood with Rufus Jones for President, where he acted alongside the legendary Ethel Waters. The film dared to imagine a black boy as president, a direct challenge to the racist notions of the time. Sammy shone on screen, captivating audiences, but the reality of his situation was that he was still a black performer in a white-dominated industry. He was good, no, he was great, but that wasn't enough for the world to see him as equal. The fame and the skill were there, but so was the constant fight against the world that didn't want him to succeed. His early life was a constant push against a system that wasn't built for someone like him. He wasn't given a seat at the table, he had to demand one. Sammy's breakthrough came in 1951, when he joined the Will Maston Trio at the famed Ciro's nightclub in Los Angeles. He was part of a show that was destined to make waves, but it wasn't just about the performance. It was about Sammy fighting for his place in a world that constantly told him he didn't belong. Fast forward to 1954, and Sammy found himself in a horrific car accident. It nearly ended his career. The crash damaged his left eye so badly that it had to be removed. The press had a field day, writing off Sammy as finished. But Sammy wasn't done. He wore an eye patch, then a glass eye, and joked about his misfortune, calling himself a one-eyed Negro who's Jewish. Yet, despite the public mockery, he didn't let it stop him. Within 8 weeks of the accident, Sammy was back on stage, dazzling audiences once more. He showed the world that he wasn't going anywhere. His career soared, but the scars of that accident stayed with him, both physically and emotionally. In 1960, Sammy made another shocking decision. He converted to Judaism. The decision came after he'd spent months recovering from the accident, reading about the struggles of the Jewish people and connecting deeply with their history. Many mocked him for it, but Sammy didn't care. He said, "I've always been Jewish in my thinking," and with that, he broke another barrier. But that wasn't the end of the challenges. Even as a star, Sammy was forced to fight for his place in Hollywood and Vegas. In the 1950s Las Vegas, he was a headliner, but he couldn't stay in the hotels where he performed. He wasn't allowed to walk through the front doors or eat in the restaurants. But Sammy didn't accept that. He demanded change. With the help of his friends in the Rat Pack, he began pushing for equal treatment in Vegas. He became the first black entertainer to stay at the Frontier Hotel where he performed, and this move helped break the color barrier in the city. By 1971, thanks to Sammy's perseverance, Las Vegas officially ended its segregation policies. Sammy fought not just for himself, but for every other black entertainer who came after him. Sammy wasn't just a performer, he was a symbol of resilience. In 1964, he starred in Golden Boy on Broadway. The musical was controversial, and the kiss between him and his co-star, a white woman, caused an uproar. Sammy received death threats, but he stood firm. He knew what he was doing was groundbreaking, and he didn't let anyone push him back into the shadows. The play's success proved that Sammy wasn't just a talented man, he was a force in the industry. But his courage didn't stop there. He marched with Martin Luther King Jr. during the Selma protests, standing up for civil rights even when it meant risking everything. Sammy Davis Jr. was more than just a star. He was a revolutionary. He fought racism, broke barriers, and proved that the American dream was for anyone willing to fight for it. But even as he triumphed, there were personal struggles that no one could see. Battles with addiction, family troubles, and the pain of being a trailblazer in a world that wasn't ready for him. He earned millions, but his personal life was marred by financial troubles, a series of broken relationships, and the constant weight of public scrutiny. But Sammy never stopped. He never gave up. Even in his final years, he fought to keep his voice, to keep performing, to keep fighting for what was right. Sammy's life was one of triumph, tragedy, and tenacity. If his story moved you, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more of the stories that change the world.